Welcome to CS Karthikeyan YouTube channel. Subscribe my channel, press bell button for your next updates, and share link to your friends, your WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Then only you get notification. And today our topic is Unit 2 Poetry for preparation for NET set, JRF, TN set also. So Unit 2 Poetry is classified 3 or 4 types. So we classified for our own category. So first thing is pre-Chaucerian, and then age of Chaucer. Second one is Elizabethan poetry. Third one is the Puritan and Restoration poetry. Fourth one is neoclassical, Augustan classical or Augustan age, and then romantic age poetry. It's very important. The Victorian poetry, and then obviously we know modern poetry. So these 7 categories for our own thing, and the last thing is contemporary poetry mixed with other different literature. So first thing is pre-Chaucerian poetry and the age of Chaucer. Before Chaucer, very few poets are writing their poetry anonymously. And first of all, we must know elements of poetry: rhythm, rhyme, assonance, imagery, alliteration, diction. There are a lot of different things there. Stanza, forms of poetry, especially literary forms of poetry like sonnet, ode, epic, elegy. Even you have find different types of ballad, ode, and different elegies. Even with the effects of Renaissance effect, it's starts a new forms of poetry like a sonnet introduced in those times. Especially some important poems like Owl and the Nightingale, Beowulf are so famous. So if we have to know about some historical events like 100 Years' War, Battle of Crecy, Pearson Revolt 1381. So we must know these historical events also. Then only we understand the why this poetry is so famous, why that age is so famous. So we must understand also the Black Death. So Black Death occurs during the time of Chaucer. And some Chaucer's great works, like many works are important, but important work is Canterbury Tales, especially prologue to the Canterbury Tales. He introduced all these characters, and his contemporary writer John Gower and Piers the Plowman. It's a very important work also is in Chaucer's age. John Wycliffe, Reformation moments. His followers are called Lallards and Total's Miscellany. I will do another video for this kind of important words and important terms, and who are what's, and what is ideal setting. And then age of revival. Revival means the effects of Renaissance is it has different varieties of forms of poetry. So that is the introduction of new forms of poetry is started in pre-Chaucerian as well as Chaucerian period. And the important writers like Thomas Harclave, John Lingate, John Skelton. So those are the contemporary poets of Chaucer. And the important another one is James First of Scotland, William Dunbar, and Thomas Wyatt and Surrey. They introduced sonnet form in England. These also occurred in end of the 15th century. So the second important thing is the Elizabethan poetry. So when we call about Elizabethan poetry, certainly Spenser, Edmund Spenser will come up in our mind. So all his poetry are so famous. Epithalamion, Prothalamion, Fairy Queen, his masterpiece, and some other writer like Sidney Arcadia, his Astrophel and Stella poem also, and Michael Drayton, Samuel Daniel, and Shakespeare's sonnets are so famous. Venus and Adonis, Rape of Lucrece, and we go to skip to another poetry like Puritan and romantic age poetry. So in this video, in all my the 10 unit videos is focused on the just a brief session. We will discuss in another poetry, another videos also. I will do all these things. Cavalier poets and metaphysical poets. So we have assimilated Cavalier poets and metaphysical poets, and John Milton's famous Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, and Lycidas, Milton poetry like twin poems, El Giro, Il Benzarzo, and his famous poems are different kind of a there, and Abraham Lincoln Cowley, his twin poems already told, William Davenant is one of the contemporary poet on the time, and Paradise Regained. So whenever we know Paradise Lost, we must know about Paradise Regained. Jacobean Age. So Jacobean, James first time, and Spenserian poets also there. And Restoration Age. So Restoration Age is classified two different main categories. First one is political satire, another one is religious poems. So when we call upon these two different categories, John Dryden who come up in our mind, Dryden's all his poems must be very important. So we will discuss in another video also. And neoclassical age or Augustan age, we may call it in the two different names also. So Alexander Pope, Dr. Samuel Johnson, their contribution to literature is so much in this age. And Oliver Goldsmith, the village preacher, the deserted village, are so famous in his work. And Robert Burns, My Love is Like a Red Rose poem is so famous on that time. Graveyard School of Poetry, a group of poets like Thomas Blair, Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard, Thomas Gray, all the poets had a group of poets. Their another name is Satanic School of Poetry. And another writer is William Cowper. And another poet is William Blake. We must the Songs of Innocence, Songs of Ignorance. So next stage, Romantic Age. Of course, when we go for Romantic Age, the senior poets and junior poets are there. So, but I spotted very important poets like William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, Robert Southey, and younger poets like Percy Bysshe Shelley, and John Keats, and third Robert Byron. So Robert Byron, Tom Jones is famous, and John Keats, Shelley's poems are so famous, and all poems are so famous. And John Clare, Thomas Campbell, Samuel Rogers, and another Lee Condos also famous at the time. We must focus on James Hogg. So in this poetry we have major poets are discussed here. And then the Victorian Age. Victorian Age is completely a new age. So Alfred Lord Tennyson is so famous, and his age Robert Browning, and Matthew Arnold poems, and Lord Tennyson poems, Robert Browning poems, and a group of poets called Pre-Raphaelite poets, H.W. Longfellow, Thomas Hardy, he is also contributes some poems to English literature, Francis Thompson. So now we see who are all called Pre-Raphaelite poets. A.C. Swinburne, William Morris, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Robert Browning's wife, and Christina Georgina Rossetti, and D.G. Rossetti, Daniel Gabriel Rossetti. He formed pre-Raphaelite poets. We will discuss these terms in next videos. And Arthur Hugh Clarke, his famous poem also in Victorian Age also in, and Edward Fitzgerald poem also here. And modern age poetry. So modern age poetry, we have plenty of poets in modern age. So I spotted very few poets only. We will discuss on all this in another video. Alfred Einstein, T.S. Eliot, Christopher Fry, and W.H. Auden, the unknown citizen, C.D. Lewis, and Edwardian poets, a group of poets. They formed themselves as Edwardian poets, and group of poets, war poets, also here. And W.B. Yeats, Irish poetry man, Sailing to Byzantium, famous thing. And Gerald Manley Hopkins, Cuttle Sonnet, famous writer, very crisp in manner, he write all his poems. Rudyard Kipling. So Kipling also writes some poems, for, especially it is prescribed for children. A.E. Houndsman and Robert Bridges, Louis Magnus. So there is a lot of poets are in there. And important poet Dying Thomas, almost, and Stephen Spencer, Osbert Sitwell. So their poems are so famous in modern age also. So keep support my channel, CS Pon Karthikeyan. Subscribe my channel. All your friends must share your videos and subscribe and bell button. Share in your social medias also. And all the best for your exam preparation. Thank you.